Head of State and Government, Secretary General, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the people of Nigeria, I congratulate you on your well-deserved election as the president of this session of the United Nations General Assembly. We commend your predecessor, His Excellency Chaba Korochi, for his able stewardship of the Assembly also. We also commend His Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, for his work seeking to forge solutions to humanity's common challenges. This is my first address before the General Assembly. Permit me to say a few words on behalf of Nigeria, my country, on behalf of Africa, my continent, regarding this year's theme. Many proclamations have been made, yet our troubles remain close at hand. Failures in good governance have hindered Africa, but broken promises, unfair treatment, and outright exploitation from abroad have also exerted a heavy toll on our ability to progress. Given this long history, if this year's theme is to mean anything at all, it must mean something special and particular to Africa. In the aftermath of the Second World War, nations gathered in an attempt to rebuild their war-torn societies. A new global system was born. And this great body, the United Nations, was established as a symbol and protector of the aspiration and the finest ideas of humankind. Nations saw that it was in their own interest to help others exceed the rubbles and wasteland of war. Reliable and significant assistance allowed countries emaciated by war to grow into a strong and productive society. The period was a high water mark for trust in global institutions and the belief that humanity had learned the necessary lessons to move forward in global solidarity and harmony. Today, for several decades, Africa has been asking for the same level of political commitment and devotion of resource that described the Marshall Plan. We realize that underlying conditions and causes of economic challenges facing today's Africa are significantly different from those of post-war Europe. We are not asking for identical programs and actions. What we seek is an equal, firm commitment to partnership. We seek enhanced international cooperation with African nations to achieve the 2030 Agenda and Sustainable Development Goals. There are 5 points I want to highlight. First, if this year's theme is to have any importance at all and any impact, global institutions, other nations, and their private sector actors must see Africa as a development priority, not just for Africa, but in the interest of us all as well. Due to both long-standing internal and external factors, Nigerians and Africa's economic structures have been skewed to impede development industrial expansion, job creation, and the equitable distribution of wealth. If Nigeria is to fulfill its duty to its people, I know, and the rest of Africa, we must create jobs and the belief in a better future for our people. We are pushing for that. We must also lead by example, and we are doing so, to foster economic growth and investors' confidence in Nigeria, and remove the costly and corrupt fuel subsidy while also discarding a noxious exchange rate system in my first few days in office. Other growth and job-oriented firms are in the wings. I'm mindful of the transient hardship that reform can cause. However, it is necessary to go through this phase in order to establish a foundation for durable growth and investment to build the economy our people deserve. Assume larger roles in the global community. The question is not whether Nigeria is open for business. The question is how much of the world is truly open.
By their accountability, transparency, and commitment to fairness, justice, and equity, all the countries, all the states, all the communities are given their fare. And that fare is being seen in the development that cuts across. So when we see a country that is developed, when we see communities being developed, when we see states being developed, we will put an end to agitations. All of the agitations come as a result of, hunger, starvation, poverty, perceived injustice, and grievances.
Bad governance, yeah, you have mentioned so much. And also to talk about what the president stated as well in his speech, he says the world economy owes the Democratic Republic of Congo much, but gives her very little. The mayhem visited on resource-rich areas does not respect national boundaries. Sudan, Mali, Burkina Faso, the list grows. And he also says that the problems also knock Nigeria's door, pardon me. Francis, what do you think about this statement?
Well, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu has said the problem is also knocking on Nigeria. Recall shortly after the military coup in Niger, there were speculations on social media that perhaps Nigeria will be the next. But I think I'll wait for our guest, the state director for CRAN, once he joins us to tell us what he feels about, some of the key things that have been highlighted by President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. But a lot of people had said as a then that perhaps Nigeria will be the next stop. I mean, recall as that then, we saw President Ahmed Bola Tinubu just before then, I think, if I can recall vividly, or my memory serves me right, changing the leadership structure of the armed forces of Nigeria. Hundreds of, top military cadre members had to resign mandatorily, as has been the practice when, he announced the new sets of service chiefs. And of course, many have said that part of the reasons Ahmed Bola Tinubu, as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, military coup happening in the country. But then, when you say to safeguard from military coup, you're also talking about the fact that within the ranks and file of the military, anybody can seize power and every other person will submit. Sure. And it doesn't matter what rank that person is from. I mean, promotion comes once you're in charge, everybody is like, honorary degree. So once maybe somebody within the close ranks of the highest cadre takes over power, decides to take power, people are going to immediately accord that person the respect. And of course, the military are being trained to be, yes, sir, it's straight down to, obeying orders, following orders. So, but that had been said cannot be the way out for Nigeria. The problem, or the solution rather, as a then, has been put forward. President Ahmed Bola Tinubu is coming with the mantra of renewed hope. He came with the mantra of, building bridges, with the mantra of correcting the ills of successive administration. And so far, looking at the appointment, particularly the ones that have come recently, all of these people are either people who have occupied one position in Lagos State or have been something in Lagos State or from the, of the Yoruba extraction. And then when you look at the spread, it is tilting towards Lagos, Yorubas, Lagos. So in this context, Nigerians are asking, where is the national unity you were preaching? Let's not forget in a hurry that shortly after his announcement as the president-elect, the APC Presidential Election Committee, the APC Presidential Campaign Council, rather, sent SMSs to Nigerians calling for collective collaborations to build national unity. They had acknowledged that so far Nigeria has been so polarized, so divided across party lines, ethnic lines, religious lines, that it was time for us to sheathe the swords and come back together to build the nation. That is the same call he has put forward to the leadership, the presidential campaign. But the question is, through your policy guidelines, through your appointment, through the things that you have done so far, can we say that you are committed to seeing a one Nigeria? That you are committed to seeing all of the interests of Nigerians being taken into consideration and being given justice and fair play in terms of federal character, in terms of allocations of slot, in terms of the appointment that you have made? Don't forget also, during the ministerial appointment that we announced, we saw the Southeast agitating. We had different geopolitical zones having 7, some having 8, but they had 5. And that gave room for consent, and of course they raised those concerns. Now, moving away from that, one would have expected that Ahmed Bola Tinubu will come back to reorganize his cabinet and look at the people he's going to trust. Yes, these people may have worked with you in Lagos State while you were the governor of Lagos State, and they must have performed exceptionally well. But you are no longer the governor of Lagos State. You are the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the father to all Nigerians. And even though you must have worked with these people, that doesn't mean that there are no other people across the geopolitical zones in Nigeria who can also deliver. It's just a matter of seeking these people out and giving them the responsibilities. And of course, he has said with a marching order, 3 years is the deadline for you to see changes across board in Nigeria. That should have been the yardstick for the appointment, and that's the conversation Nigerians are putting.
To be agreed with, for people to live in peace, it takes a lot of work. It takes you being conscious, and of course, yes, there's a tag now that they call it Yorubanization, and people would say there's really no difference. If we bring in somebody from the Hausa tribe, he will bring in most people from the north, and we bring in an Igbo man, he will bring in more Igbo people. But when you have made a promise to Nigerians that you are going to
and other key planks. Obi, on the other hand, faulted the September 6 judgment on 51 grounds. We move now to health break in the state this year. Mahmood disclosed this while speaking to newsmen at a one-day media orientation on the diphtheria outbreak supported by the United Nations Children Fund held in Kano. On his remarks, the chief of UNICEF Field Officer Kano, Mr. Ramhama Fahar, said the majority of suspected victims of diphtheria are children. Meanwhile, Dangote Petroleum Refinery is currently importing crude oil and expects its first crude cargo in 2 weeks' time. The executive director, Dangote Group, Dev Kumar Edwin, has revealed, although the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited trade crude oil on behalf of Nigeria, Edwin, in an interview with newsmen, said the NNPCL had committed its crude oil to other entities. We head straight now to the foreign scene, where Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that alongside its ongoing nuclear threats, Russia is also weaponizing essentials like global food and energy markets and using them against all the countries of the world. Zelensky, who disclosed this to world leaders in the UN General Assembly, said the impact of these weaponization could be seen from Africa to Southeast Asia, adding that since the start of the war, Ukrainian ports in the Black and Azov Seas were blocked by Russia and its ports on the Danube River targeted by drones and missiles, he said. Is hoping to secure Paris 2024 Olympic Games sports when she begins her campaign at the ongoing 2023 pre-Olympic qualifiers in Belgrade, Serbia today. Her journey at the tournament began with a confident 9-7 points win over world number 4 Brazil Gila Oliveira in the round of 16 after she picked up the Brazilian and slammed her on the mat to win their 57 kg bout at the World Wrestling Championship. Reports say that Aderukoye, ranked 22, was then defeated by former world #1 Indian Sarita Moore 6-4 in the quarterfinals. We have details of this and many more in our news of 12. I am Mary Joseph. Let's head back to Rising China where we have Francis and Davina on standby. Do have a wonderful morning.
Government, Secretary General, delegates.
Voting for Spectrum TV to recover for the lapses
Government, Secretary General, delegates.
voting for Spectrum TV to recover for the lapses
goes to point that maybe our leaders are not ready for true liberation. Our leaders are not ready to speak independent of Western or other countries' influence. Now, in these regards, do you think the African continent is even ready to stand on its own, to be able to put policies and implement them in the respective countries to ensure that people are well taken care of with the resources that has been entrusted to the people who have been, elected into position of leadership?
Yes, let me take this as my partition because I have to leave immediately. Sorry for saying this. I think that the leaders of African countries are not ready for true development of their countries. The African leaders are just enriching themselves and forming government of a few. I was thinking that, for instance, in Nigeria, that after the election of President Bola Tinubu, that the president would reach out to other parties and form what is known as government of national unity, bringing other party leaders to form his government, and then making policies, consulting widely before you make policies that will impact on the economic of the country. But this is the revised. Having said this, I think that the leaders of African countries are not ready to use the resources of the country to develop the country. We have, Nigeria is one of the largest crude oil producing countries in the world, but we are importing petroleum products. We export these raw materials and we import it back. The exchange rate comes in, and then you will now see the pump price increasing at the level of the end users. We are paying more for what we have instead of paying less. We are paying more for what we have. But the countries that are, that are coming to import this crude oil from Nigeria and are enjoying it at a commensurate amount. Why don't we have, for instance, our refineries working? Why don't we fix our roads? Why don't we fix our industries and get it working? Why can't we fix our health sector? Why can't we security in place for more than 24 hours, I can tell you that the government has, has a knowledge of what is happening, because the government has the instrumentality of violence. When you see a state being taken hostage by bandits, you see a community being hosted with the plans of bandits being hosted, and nothing is happening. The highway is not safe. The sea, you have the pirates. The air is very expensive for you to use. That is, so where are we? How do you even go about? Cost of living is high. Cost of governance is also high. Why don't we look at how to streamline cost of governance to make things better? The president would have said, okay, in the first of this day, I don't expect to be paid any money. Let me donate my salary into doing this. My security vote, I'm donating into a particular sector. Let us go start with that. Because president has already made it in life. Let me just say so. He has made it in life. He has everything you need. You don't go there because you need money again. That is my own view. So what if president can come and say, okay, for the first 100 days, I don't want to be paid any money. I'm working for charity. Let me use this money and develop the schools.